I had this most amazing tarot reading this morning, not like a private reading, just like on YouTube and as a sort of open YouTube, which is where I get most of my social media fixes. In fact, it's the channel I spend of like what Facebook is for most people, I suppose. That's YouTube for me, not even Instagram. And Anyway, and yeah, this tarot reader I follow uploaded something called karma basically, but it's about like your debt, what you are paying for, and what you're getting paid in terms of karma and all that. And but yeah, it was like literally, I think she uploaded 2 minutes before I saw it, type of thing, which sometimes it doesn't happen often. And I was like, so I always take these as cues from, from just the fabric of universe that is kind of presenting me with these messages, if you like. And so I opened it, and and she started like by, I have not heard her yet say it so loudly and clearly, but basically like a trigger warning, and in kind of like how there were 5 cards that you pick a card kind of piles, which is what I love the most. So she does those mostly, almost always, I think. Yeah. Anyway, and she was really like driving home this message of like, if you easily get triggered, maybe don't watch this, because I'm just keeping it real and whatever. And I was like, oh, do I want to? I woke up feeling good. I woke up feeling kind of positive, and I thought, oh, am I gonna do this? And I often do this. Like, I get distracted or something pulls my attention elsewhere, and I go, and it can ruin my day. I'll let it ruin, obviously, and all that, but still. And I thought, is this going to be one of those days? And I thought, oh well, I don't know. Let's see. I was still curious, and I didn't really have big plans for today. And and I started. So I kind of I don't do it so obviously, but I did it this morning. I kind of really called in my higher self, my intuition, some guidance, basically, as to pick the pile. And when I opened my eyes after I did that, I kind of sort of scanned them all, and then there was something about the 4th card that kind of made me go up like that. Something jumped almost at me, and so I was like, okay, that's the one. And anyway, I listened to it, and it was like, wow. I mean, just wow. And it's basically all that I'm talking about here in terms of productivity and work, and basically how I am learning to build something, because in past lives things came easy to me, and in my youth, and that is so true. I mean, I don't have clear recollection of my past lives, but I feel like I was just yeah, I had it great. I really did. As in, I had everything, kind of thing. I was lucky, or I was privileged, or something like that. I definitely have some glimpses of those kind of lifestyle, but I certainly grew up very, not privileged necessarily, but really well taken care of, and also like things really came easy to me. Whatever I turned my head to put my hands on just turned into a success. So yeah, so it's like this thing is, this karma, this lifetime thing is to start build to learn to build something, to manifest something, to create something. And it's, she didn't use the word legacy, but I certainly use it obviously. And it's that kind of thing to kind of but also she was saying things like, there is something for you in this lifetime, like some kind of big recognition of sorts, or accomplishment or something. And she used the word producer, which is what whenever I either did those career tests, or even a couple of astrologers would say this to me, that's kind of probably the best describes my kind of ways or something. And I certainly identify with that profoundly. And this piece that I'm working on at the moment is producing kind of like a magazine type of thing, and that's kind of my long-term dream, is to have my own magazine. But you see, so this is where I'm coming. And so she said something that is essentially this. I don't care if this video is long. In fact, I don't care if they're long anymore. And so she said this word, like, not word, she mentioned, I'm not even going to pause it, I'm just going to do this real time. She was talking about, So it's not legacy, it's not producer. I've just said that there will be a recognition. Purpose. That's it. And she said it's like a sentence like, oh, Carl, this is her saying, right? Like, I always say that if you, without a purpose, why bother? And I thought, like, why bother living? Why bother doing anything? Why bother, whatever, building, which is kind of the theme of my reading of my chosen card. And I thought, wow, this is exactly what this channel is about, or this certainly the pivot since the day 55, I think. But I think even before I was talking about it, maybe. Anyway, it's that piece about why. What is the why behind what I do, and this building, this legacy, right? So, and I may have said this here, but I'm sure I have. Astrologically, I have this setup where I have Saturn in 12th. Saturn rules my skip step, which is my moon in Capricorn, and Saturn also rules my 10th house, and it's in 12th. What that means, there is this profound sense of this why of the earthly matters is just unsustainable, because it's in the 12th house, and 12th house is when you just cross over and realm beyond this world. And any planet you have in 12th house, that's kind of, those themes will be not of this world for you. And I have Venus there as well, which is relationships, hence this channel being a lot about relationships, how I can't do them. And my moon is out of bounds, so if anyone is into astrology, this will be one of those videos. Which means it's just so gone past all those norms and the world as it is for most people, right? So it's everything about my chart is that, like, I'm on the other side, I've just gone gone somewhere else. And and I read in one of the books of astrology books when I was really trying to master this, understand what my Saturn wants from me, because it's essentially the planet that we are in conversation with, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or not. It's whenever we are wondering about our purpose in life, our success, this is all Saturn stuff. And Saturn is the planet that teaches us. It's the ultimate teacher, and it's our parent that we eventually need to integrate and become our own parent. But all these growing up is us trying to be our Saturn. So to understand yourself, understand your Saturn. All right, what it is that you want, what it is that will make you feel fulfilled, like a life well lived, right? Look into your Saturn and try to understand it. And so for me, it was this, in one book, this woman said, the writer, I mean, like, basically, you have to learn to live without a why. And I'm not feeling emotional, but actually something is rising up. And it wasn't like emotional, it was almost like a relief when I recently was looking back at some diaries and journals, and I found it there again because I highlighted it after. I always go back to my journals, and when I kind of try to trace some activity, astrologically speaking, and all that. So, and sometimes just because I do want to see how far I come or what I've been dealing with back then or whatever. So yeah, so I saw it there again, and I was like, wow. And even so, I could see it, would be reminded of that. It was almost like I say, a relief. It's like, well, of course, I can't find a why that is gonna be there for me, rather, for long enough to stick with it, to keep me going along the why path. So, and yet this tarot reader of this morning meant or said basically that without a why, why bother? It's like, why bother if you haven't got a purpose? And purpose is essentially the why. What is my purpose? Why bother doing something? And people say, well, to fulfill my purpose, well, you need to know what your purpose is, or you need to know what it is. You need to have defined it for yourself, and then to really feel like it's that consistent why it gives you a consistent why, as in, but also like that why motivates you. So that's the 3 piece. If you have a consistent why answered well, and that then gives you motivation, then you consistently do something and you fulfill your purpose. So that got me thinking about purpose. So I looked up etymology of the word, which I don't think I ever did, which is really, for me, since it's been the theme of my life, or one of the themes, one of the top 3 themes of my life, that I've never done it before. And essentially it's design, it's what you put forth. Those are the 2 that are now sticking with I can remember quickly. But essentially, it's all what I mean. This is no news, not even to me, and to many of you probably, whoever one day watches this. But it's basically no news to me. Like I say, that the purpose is not something we need to find, but it's something we need to create. And so one thing that, and this is something, like I say, so I'm 51, so I've read these books in terms of how you find your purpose since I was a teenager probably. And certainly this wasn't the idea that back then, but it's been very much the idea of recent, I mean last at least 5 years, if not maybe even longer, where this purpose is like, hello, it's not something you need to chase outside of you need to create it. But the thing there for me is that kind of got me, the thought that came to me as I was pondering all this, is that if it's something you're putting forth, and obviously as you put forth something every day, it ends up building itself into something, whatever that is. And I used to, well, I kept saying, or I've been saying for the last, again, relatively recently, for the last maybe 5 or 10 years, maybe, I don't know, maybe not 10 even. Anyway, that the only thing that I've done all my life is write journals, which even then I had phases where I didn't, very much so. And actually there are some journals that I threw away. I just remembered one. Anyway, and so maybe I don't have them all with me. Still, that's kind of, but the point with journal really isn't just about the notebook and the writing of it. It's, what I mean by that is that I have spent, the only thing that I've done every day is reflect on myself and why I'm doing something, or what's going on in me, in my life and in me, right? And then I was just relentlessly driven to improve and better myself and my life. And one of the biggest battles there was like, well, better by whose standards? And that's a big piece for probably everyone, but certainly for me it was. As in, and I have very much went down so many strayed roads and off path because I was sort of following someone else's idea of that improvement or betterment. And recently I spoke here about this video, this whole challenge I'm doing in 110 days, is because I saw someone who I really like and respect and value his input, content, and I consider him very wise. And so I kind of followed him, like, in the sense, did what he did. So to test, or to just see, okay, well, maybe I'll get as much out of it as he did, and in the search of finding that something that is sustainably feeding me and fulfilling me. And the jury is still out in regards to these 110 videos, but my point is with this one thing that I've done all my life is that, so like worked on myself, and that's all I ever wanted really, is to just, I'm my own most exciting project. I am in love with myself, but not in a narcissistic way, but in the sense that I just love spending time with myself and just like, I'm fascinated by myself. I used to be fascinated by many others, and I can still be a little bit, but nowhere near. It's really minuscule. And by now, probably not at all even, maybe. I mean, I would, if something does seem fascinating, I would acknowledge it. It's not like, or person, I mean, it sounds or seems fascinating, I would say so, but I wouldn't be intrigued. I may have been before when I was looking for answers in other people. But for a long time, well, for some time, or maybe long, but maybe 3 years, maybe that's not a long time, I don't know. I really, and I spoke of this before on this channel, I just lost that curiosity piece. I completely lost it. I just really am not bothered. But I have never lost curiosity about myself, like to figure out why, my whys, why do I do this, why do I not do this, what's going on here, and all that. So yeah, that's a lifelong affair. Until my dying days, I will be fascinated by myself, and I highly recommend it. It is just, it keeps giving, and it's just the rewards are phenomenal. And even if they're not like rewards in terms of, again, according to some kind of external standards, unless they're your standards, well, then you won't resonate with this. So yeah, so back to the purpose and back to the sort of legacy and the work and the tarot reading. In fact, in the tarot reading, there was a card. There were 3 cards, and one in the middle was 8 of Pentacles. Yeah, was it 8 of Pentacles, 7 of Pentacles? I think it was 8. And it was this guy who was chiseling these skulls. And there were like a pile of skulls by him, and it was just, I think it was 8 of Pentacles. And she said he's crafting or chiseling or forming, giving form to a perfect human. And I'm thinking, that's what I'm doing. I mean, not that I'm a perfect human, or but like a perfect version of myself, not like perfect, just kind of, I don't know, just like so. When you do a good house clean, like a general once a year, twice a year, I don't know, one spring cleaning, right? So there is not a corner of the house that you haven't been to and cleaned and dusted or whatever, or there is no stone unturned. So that, in that sense, perfect. So it's a perfect job. The result is what it is, right? So if it's a house, it's like, that's what it is. The house might not be perfect whatsoever, but it's perfectly cleaned up. So the job was perfectly done. And that's that's the ultimate for me, really. But yeah, there is this piece about, again, this money making. And and there was another part to this that got me thinking today, is, so this what I'm struggling with big time, really, still can't, I don't know if I'll see if I can do it today. I might even use the same trick as yesterday with the music, but part of me just doesn't want to do it. But yeah, it's this magazine. Even though I said it's my dream, this is my point. And it's a dream that maybe is coming from somewhere else, somewhere far more superficial than actually deeper desire. But where I sometimes think it is deep enough, and it has substance to it, and it has that longevity, and it can sustain me, but it's not doing it at the moment, is maybe because I put too much structure around it, or I'm just including stuff that I don't care so much about. I don't know. I don't bloody know. But what I'm getting at here is that the driver so far about the magazine and this channel essentially is to kind of spread my word being my vision, my philosophy of life, what I think, it is like a kind of vision of the future humanity and future human possibly even more so. So to see these 8 of Pentacles creating a future human, and that does kind of get my energy going high, even now, slightly, not much, but start slightly, which is always a sign that you're onto something, but something good and good for you. But again, it's like I always kind of quickly get to this place where it feels like it's just feeding my ego. And I don't have a problem with ego. I mean, I'm not judging the ego, but it feels flatter than anything else when it's not ego. And that's the kind of flatness that doesn't sustain. So it's like that flat line, you know, when it comes to EKG, isn't it, or whatever. So yeah, so this kind of desire, or this, you know, it's like to leave a legacy in the sense of like, this is my imprint on the world, to this is my vision, this is what I think, you know, how we should be, because that's the healthy way of being. And I'm spouting my theories here on this channel, and it's been fun. Maybe this is actually it. Maybe this is the channel. Maybe these videos are actually all that will last forever till I die. And this particular magazine that or guide that I'm working on at the moment may just not even happen. And this is the way I will be spreading my word, without bringing astrology, which is what's then creating a lot of work that's kind of mechanical, and it's not as, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about it. Anyway, so yeah, so like I say, the moment I kind of step into this soapbox, in a way, it is a soapbox, isn't it? And I love talking about everything I talk about. It does soon become, I get a sense of this ego, like, I like it. And then if I have subscribers, or if I have anyone comment, which here it's not happening, but if I continue, I'm sure it will. And that gets me. And this, I'm back to this whole thing, audiences I spoke about earlier. So it's like it's almost like it's the wrong wheel. It's like I'm a hamster on that wheel, and then I keep falling off because maybe I'm not a hamster. I'm a producer. And on that note, see you tomorrow.